Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show. Yeah.
Yo.
What's up, dude? What you up to?
Dude, I was like ready to go back to bed, and then I just checked back. I was like, all right, what time is he going to suggest? He's like, I'm going to go regular time. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, let's let it rip
for the coffee, all the good stuff. I'm good though, man. Yesterday's WIP was fun. It was really fun. The new WIP headquarters looked amazing, at least, and then OONA crushed it with her presentation. Her art is hilarious. It was also like far deeper than I know a lot of people were probably expecting, and I think she crushed it. Questions were amazing too. It was just kind of like a perfect, tight little WIP.
Yeah, dude, it was really good. I've like, seen UNA's stuff from afar and bumped into her briefly when I was in Lisbon last year, which is how I like sort of came connected with her and everything. But her stuff is like, pretty heavy performance art, and there's a lot fucking going on. And I was curious, as I'm like hanging up her shit all over the WIP gallery, which I'm like, dude, if we were gonna like unveil a parcel and gonna go big, man, fucking UNA's shit like looked really fucking good in there. And all of her shit was like, animated and everything. So walking into the gallery and being surrounded by all that was like pretty cool, not to mention the way we incorporated it into the game. But man, I was curious to hear UNA speak because just how she was going to talk about all of this, all the various parts that I was hanging up there as I'm looking at this stuff. And I think she did a really good job of like tying all these pieces together that she's sort of playing with in the public space. And getting her message across and everything, which if you see some of these things in just like little clips or, internet bites or whatever, it might be hard to figure out what the fuck is going on unless you scratch deeper. But for UNA to be able to sort of summarize all that with like the 15 minutes we gave her while being surrounded with like a bunch of fucking eggs with sunglasses driving buses and shit, I feel like she crushed, dude. It was a good WIP.
Yeah, no, absolutely crushed. And just more people being able to hear her, like, experience her art. Like, again, there's this level of hilarity and like awkwardness just because of the explicit nature, seeming nature of a lot of the imagery and works. And when you listen to it, it's like, holy shit, there's layers and layers and layers. And there's like very specific crypto references and messages that, again, like any good art, like it'll hit you in the face, but then it'll take you deeper down. And she did a really good job, I think, of really, for if I had not known her work and her body of work, pun intended, up until that point, like it would have been a very, very great way to figure out all the different levels and be like, oh shit, what else has UNA created? So stoked on that. It translated really well. And again, I think throwing flowers at Paradox as well. I think we kicked off the WIP perfectly. Again, with that sort of like cinematic entrance where everyone's hanging out in a box, which is like a nice reference to the box that we used to keep Dragonade in and still try to get them back in from time to time.
True.
But then like having that open to that cypherpunk urban like WIP headquarter visual is just like, holy shit. It was cool with all the other avatars in the room. We got a little sneak peek as Paradox was demoing that midweek, but to have all those avatars in there and then jump out again, there's a little bit of jankiness like getting to the stage from there, but the cinematic opening worked, and that was awesome. Love to see more of that.
Dude, yes, man. You can't even say enough. Paradox just like did this. Dude, you gotta love this shit about our community, right? They just like randomly come through with stuff, and Paradox is just like slide into my DMs like, yo, I've been working on this, you want to see? And it's that I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Yeah, man. And honestly, the fact that the door broke and no one could get out of there, the VIP room, was like perfect, man. It's like, you know, we crashed it because too many people are in there, and I probably like copy pasted too many dancing butters and milk VRMs in one tiny space, and you know, it broke, but we managed to do it. Dude, I don't know how much time Paradox put into it, man. And he often like undersells a lot of his stuff, and how high level of amount of work that goes into it, man. But it's exactly what we need, dude. And you know, kicking it off with OONA was great. You got a lot of people up in there and participating in the thing. But yeah, dude, Paradox is like, you know, master builder out here, and you gotta look at this shit and put that into his portfolio and take it seriously.
Yeah, no, a master of his craft. I think he's had some amazing projects and builds throughout the past, but this, I feel, is just heads and shoulders above what he had created before. And the fact that we're going to be able to reuse this week after week, like, I don't know. I just can't wait for the I don't think we can do that cinematic reveal enough. Like, even if we're going to the same cityscape, it's just really cool to like be milling about in this really constrained virtual space and then having that open up. And again, he's built in portals so that we can quick link to other places. Shout out the flag.
Like, shout out the flag is right, dude. The flag is great.
Again, anyone can pick it up. OONA picked it up, I believe.
Yeah, right.
I was following along. Yeah, like she was taking the crowd with her. Like
Lord of the Flies.
That's a throwback to early 2020 WIPs, like when we had wearables and people, like we had a speaker like icon that people could place above their heads in CryptoVoxels. But we've been missing that sorely since. It's just a really good touch when people are on, like, for example, Elated, when he was taking us on the most recent tour, CryptoVoxels, he was flying everyone. I'm like, dude, where we at? Just like trying to gather people. If we had that flag, that's the touch that's usually missing from a lot of these virtual experiences. Very subtle detail, but very, very like big impact.
No, dude, and let me tie it all together, man, because this is like my favorite part of setting up for this week, right? Because Paradox has got all this shit he wants to unveil, and then UNA's got like probably the most avant-garde art we've hung in scale in succession at the WIP, you know, to date. And so I'm like, dude, we gotta do this right, and so somehow flex Paradox's shit and UNA's shit, and dude, again, shout out UNA, man, because obviously her art has like very serious undertones, but she is willing to get like wacky as fuck. And so I'm like, all right, we got these garages. UNA's got like these running themes of like milk, butter, eggs. I'm like, let's just get fucking weird, right? We'll turn everyone into egg avatars. I'm going to hang up some of UNA's art, and we're going to have a competition driving that shit straight through her vagina into a giant milk thing that we're going to churn at the end. And this serves a great double entendre of flexing Paradox, because everyone had to use the garages and get in the cars and see the parcel and drive around, and Colborn like rammed the Rizzle Fest bus right into the milk, like he'd been fucking prepping for this shit for a month. And I genuinely appreciate any of our speakers, man, who just show up and are like, you know, let us do our thing and get weird with us. And I feel like that's sort of our own collective artistic contribution to whatever the fuck is being brought to our table each week. And that was fun, man. You never really know with like artists who have such serious undertones if it's gonna, you know, how our shit is gonna translate or whatever. But she was like, let's fucking roll. And I was like, all right, here we go. Eggmobiles, we're doing it.
Yeah, our calling card is definitely like the weirder the better. And that translates across a lot of verticals in this space, and creative mediums. So glad to see like it hit yesterday. Colborn winning was just sort of like chef's kiss. It's like, yes. It's like anyone has a chance, week in, week out, and he just absolutely crushed, like you said. It seemed like he had
right.
prepared.
Colborne's been busy, man. He hasn't popped in a few weeks, but just came in to fucking win that race and popped out, man.
Yeah. Shout out GTA. I think we all grew up playing GTA, and like again, that sort of translates. You have that sort of experience.
Who played and who did not.
Exactly.
Dragon
Anyway, that was, yeah. First of all, like we're recording on Friday, like the day after the WIP. It's kind of cool to have the ability to talk about the WIP right after the fact. I think it's a little bit. It's honestly feels better than recording the day before. Just being able to reflect on it, like give it its proper context and like fresh off the WIP, as opposed to like giving it a few days before talking about it like the next week. So I don't know, just got to flag that too.
Yeah, no, the cadence feels good, man. Fridays are generally like sort of easier for me to focus, with like less going on and everything. And dude, I fucking opened up my DMs this morning, and Metageist had listened to our last podcast and heard me bitching about missing out on Gazers again for like the billionth time, and hooked me up with some of the maps to burn for Matt Cain's thing and everything. And I'm like, feeling the fucking community love this morning, man. Paradox is like sending me on top of like revamping the WIP parcel, man. Dude really has been crushing, man, on fire with his videos lately. The one from Decentraland looks really sick. Oh, dude, and the other thing that finally wrapped this morning that I just pushed live and haven't posted about yet is, dude, we recorded fucking 289 episodes. That an RSS feed makes very convenient to just slide on into the WIP channel over the course of like 4 days. It took to upload them or whatever. But it's like, shit, dude, that's like a year, almost a year's worth of like fucking daily podcast, which some people, I don't know, man. There's a lot of people who keep like a daily clip with their shit, but it's I don't know, I feel like that's like a different flow and almost like a different animal than what we do and everything. Fucking 289 episodes is a lot of shit.
Jeez, I mean, we got to say like 300, but I mean, this is a great reminder that episode 300 is coming up. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
290. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm making a, yeah, dude, summer's going to be fun. It's going to be a vibe when we get to our 300th episode.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's fucking wild. So yeah, dude, I'm down to switch the recording days and everything. What do we have next week, man? Who are we sliding in? Oh, I think we're keeping it on the DL for the moment. But I had we got Bay back in here. Dude, fucking Bay's been serving it up lately. She's got so much shit coming out of DCL that she's strategically placed at times that are convenient for us. I love fucking her sliding into the DMs too, man. It's been one of these mornings, man, where all the inbound shit is pretty good. Talking about people going out to Lisbon, man. I'm going to be out in NFC Summit in June, so I'm starting to prep for that and get my head on what I want to do out there, and talking with Leandro and their squad and everything. You gonna be out there, man? I saw some rumblings.
Yeah, no, I should be heading out there. It's like 90% confirmed at this point, but the flow will be, I'll be at like the Farcon event beginning of May, and then June should be going out to Lisbon. It's sort of like my May-June trips coming up.
Dude,
so I think a whole bunch of us are going to be in Lisbon, dude.
Dude, I was going to say, man, let's like potentially manifest some WIP shit out in Lisbon, man, especially if both of us are going to be out there too. But there's like a pretty sizable WIP community contingency out there last year, and it feels like there's going to be even more this year. So we should absolutely do something cool and potentially haphazard, or maybe that's the inevitable part. But yeah, man, let's do some WIP shit.
Oh yeah, dude. What else has been on your radar this week? I know the Afties with Show, he was calling out the fact that like nothing happened this week and that sort of thing. And like it definitely felt like a quieter week in certain aspects than usual, but anything else up on your radar? Curious.
Dude, I will say I actually re-listened to Show's Afties rant about Solana 2 weeks ago, like just for funsies, man. It was so fucking good, and it's worth, especially like, you know, I'm always like sort of multitasking and, you know, trying to stick the landing with the WIP and everything, and so I'm always listening to Show. But shit, dude, I was just like laughing the whole time. Enough for like a re-listen and everything. It's fucking worth it. It felt cathartic. But that's sort of how I'm feeling in general, man. The space seems sort of flat. I feel like all the interesting shit is happening on base right now, which I sort of have mixed feelings about. Like, I want to like base more than I do, but I can't deny that most of the interesting shit is happening on there, and it feels like genuinely interesting shit versus like manufactured interesting shit, which is what I felt like everyone was saying Solana was for so long. Like, this is the future. It's, we can do all these things, but you can't. And base seems like it's just fucking steadily. I'm talking about base as if they're like a dev team or whatever, but people building on base, shit continues to come out of there, and people continue to ship stuff that's interesting to me, particularly on that blockchain, man. And I've actually like really enjoyed Warpcast more and more, man. Like tinkering around with these frames, for me, like personally nerding out, man. A lot of these are like just really interesting, like micro experiments in balancing tokenomics, which I feel like is a historic problem that no one's really been able to get right. And I think it's the key to unlocking gaming out here that Show was talking about. And so I really like these frames because, and I'm seeing more and more of them. There's very simple tokenomics experiments that can reach a decent audience that knows what the fuck is going on. And it's, I don't think some of them end up in like airdrops and shit coins and everything, but like, there's some fucking egg thing, that is just dumb but interesting. There's a bunch of shit like that, right? And all of these are like sort of, mini attempts or stabs at trying to what I feel like is trying to unlock this thing that we've all been trying to unlock, which is how to like actually build a sustainable microeconomy out here that doesn't result in someone just nuking the price of the token or like unsustainable tokenomics being put in place that like fucks the whole thing up. And I feel like really that's like a problem across the space that everyone's been scratching at. And honestly, and I'll get off this rant in a second, man, but it feels like the last like year or year and a half or so, people almost just gave up trying to do that and are just like, fuck it. We're not even going to try and balance this shit. We're just launching a shit coin to just try and, raise some funds or make some money. And there's almost a like sentiment of like, we all know how this goes, like now kind of thing. And I feel like, if we're really going to move forward, man, as a culture and a space and everything, we got to get the fucking basics right, which is like not having every fucking token that has any type of utility like getting fucking nerfed into the ground 6 days after or whatever,
Yeah, no, shout out Base and Farcade. I mean, Warpcast, Farcaster, there's been like an eternal debate about that. Apparently they're seriously considering just like unifying the names and just calling the app that everyone uses Farcaster along with the protocol, which like everyone sort of references first. So as opposed to these two janky names where people are like, where the F can I find this app?
It's not too confusing.
It's way too confusing. So like I'm all here for them to simplify the product, branding wise and stuff like that. But to your point, the tools that they're creating that are allowing folks that are, again, we're all online to varying degrees throughout the day, and crypto people like more so. So having, again, this growing island in effect where all of us can sort of like hang out, congregate, at least come back a few times, open up a few of our favorite frames or whatever. Like that's the way. And we're starting to see like how that's changing crypto, I think, in some subtle but significant ways. One of which being, I think we sort of had lightly talked about this last week with the crypto game, but there's a Wired article that came out this week that was like an in-depth review of that 10-day like Survivor or like Squid Game style crypto powered social game that some dude Joel Khalili, I believe, wrote. And it was this like really intense, like narratively driven, like drama filled article covering those 10 days of the different tribes and how they interacted, all the meta commentary around it by the participants, many of which were non-dudes. Like I hate flagging things that seem insignificant or whatever like that, but like there was a great cross section there of people that I had never come across or seen like in my like decade in crypto that are coming out for this game, stoked on it enough to like record their TikTok style recaps and summaries, and it was really engaging, just like from a entertainment perspective from afar. But getting into this article that I'll link in the show notes, it was intense, dude. And
Yeah, I
there was
regret missing that.
there's $140,000 pot for this that was created by people who bought into the game. It was like 0.1 ETH for all the participants to come in. And on season 3, they're able to raise about $140,000 worth of crypto that went to a winner, Ted, super popular on the Purple app and now officially on the Purple app team. But seeing that, I'm like, holy shit. And the article, a really big thing is you got through the whole article, was fun, entertaining. You know, the whole thing was powered by crypto. It was in the title of the article. The article had no mention of crypto in it. Like, it wasn't talking about any of the tech or anything like that. It was only focused on the fun, on the good stuff up there. And I think that's probably going to be a pretty growing trend. Like a lot of experiences that are powered by crypto, but you don't need to talk about any of the smart contracts or any of the technical underpinnings that are making the thing work. It's going to work in a way that translates in this sort of thing where it's like, all right, they raised 140K for this group shared prize. Like Uniswap acquired the game after season 2. They're behind the scenes, like it's a Uniswap product or experience effectively, but we're not talking about any of the in the weeds DeFi tech. And I think that's a really novel development in this space. And again, it was a big thing, but because it wasn't like the tech side in the forefront, hope more people that have been in the space like take note of that and what that portends heading forward in terms of like the tech and then the actual experience / product.
No, dude, I think you're like hitting on sort of what I am starting to understand I really like about Warpcast. And honestly what I liked about Scent, man, and why it feels like so similar to old Scent and everything. Because one of the things, obviously, like I love to fucking tinker, man. It's been like my shit out here for like so long, and there's just like endless stuff to tinker with on Warpcast, similar to Scent like back in the day and everything. But the game that you're talking about, man, and like a lot of these things, like I'm like fucking farming radishes and shit, like on the blockchain or like whatever. But also like I can see who else I am connected with on Warpcast who is also doing that, right? And I can like fucking I can also open Farcade or whatever and play like a Words with Friends game, basically on the blockchain or whatever with Dragonate, who fucking cheats, by the way. I'm almost like 100% positive he's like running his letters through AI. Brookhawk also agrees on this, man. I fucking hung out with Brookhawk a few days ago. We went to some Brinkman thing. And we both agreed that Dragonade fucking cheats. So don't even engage with him on Farcade.
Y'all just can't deal with someone who is actually good at one of these games. And Brookhawk won against me, by the way, despite my best efforts. But I do not use AI. For shit like this, 'tis a useless waste of my time and a frustrating, pissy experience to use it for.
He's in the comments here saying he does not. But sort of that overall thing, man, where I'm like, okay, here we all are on this app. My follower list is like pretty curated, and there's a bunch of different options within this app of how to like engage with these people in different ways. And maybe not all of the people I'm engaged with are interested in fucking farming radishes, but maybe they are interested in like some of the tokenomics experiments that are going on in there. And so being able to like open some of these frames and see who I'm connected with in that particular little microcosm of Warpcast, I'm like, this is some cool shit, man. It's like how you like build proper like sub communities within communities. And that's what like Twitter has always been lacking, man. It's just like a fucking dumpster fire free for all and impossible to find anyone's anything. And here you see like the possibility of like actual sub communities sort of forming organically just around like people's interests in what they're like tinkering around with. I like radishes.
Yeah. And that's what again, the daily actives have been growing, especially over the past couple of months on the Purple app. I think we're around that like 40 to 50K mark. I think it had nadered down around like the 30,000-ish DAO rate. So like we're seeing that energy. It's not just like feels, it's actual tangible metrics, like a turnaround. And that's like a fair few number of folks that, again, to your point, there's these sub communities that are emerging that are so close together that, like, again, they haven't exposed it. I don't know if they have plans to do this, but within that Farcade app, which is like one of, if not the top frame that they have in the ecosystem of all these folks within that are on top of a link to Farcaster, kind of very close by to one another. Like, it's not inconceivable to think of a way for that sort of product in Farcade to figure out a more social focused way to let folks battle against one another, as opposed to, like, again, where's your friends, whatever, with people that there's one thing, but having one of these other like super simple games that you're just like getting into that like more competitive tournament style. Like, all right, I see that person's Farcaster profile. Who the heck? I've heard them. I haven't seen them before. You go in, you're like, oh shit, they're into like opera or something. Something that like out of left field. You're like, oh, that's kind of fascinating. Like finding other people to follow based on these other connections that are facilitated just by virtue of people being on that same social network. That's a really, really interesting angle to think down too. So again, I think if people have been listening to our shows, especially over the past, since the beginning of the year, like we've had like more passionate, like real reason, like not just, hey, there's the thing over on the Purple app, and then going on to like not real short, but really in-depth kind of talks and thinking through what's happening on the Purple app. Like that's probably the strongest signal out of anything I've come across in quite a while. So just really making that clear.
Yeah, no, dude, it's hard to disagree. It feels like it's really the only place that anything interesting is going on and has been going on for a long time. Outside of that, it just, I feel like we, for a long time, man, we either got away from like, the experiments, or they just became so fragmented and impossible to keep track of. And Warpcast is starting to feel like that agreed upon place where, fringe shit is going to be most easy to find or accessible and everything. And it's done a good job of curating fucking Web3 people who are interested in like actual tech. I mean, there's always the other side of the coin and everything. But I feel like, dude, remember we went through, it was like 2 years ago. There's like so many like Web3 social media attempts that like fell flat, and they were so like overproduced and manufactured. It's fucking, what was it, Friend Tech, and a whole bunch of other like copycats came out, like essentially trying to like socially engineer Web3 social media. And I feel like Warpcast is a pretty good example that if you want to just like capture that audience, it's like fucking let people build interesting shit and talk to people and find each other. It's not that complicated.
The Friend Tech and all those other experiments, they tried to financialize the whole social experience. They put the money first, which ruins everything, as everyone found out. With the Purple app, it's social first with a bunch of tools that like crypto enables, right? And because crypto is like, for people that are in it, it's always there. They just made sure that they have rails that support it, like the in-app wallet that they introduced as one of like many different things that then works with the frames, which you can have financial interactions that are just seamless in-app, like making crypto honestly just feel and work a lot better. So crypto as like a secondary thing that you can do, but like having the social dynamic being primary. Again, it's a very subtle inversion, but it has profound implications in the user experience. And again, over a year at this point, I'm in there. It's a daily driver, right? On par with Twitter. Again, different feeling. The whole world's not on it right now. All those caveats aside, it's yeah, can't sing enough praises for it.
Yeah, wasn't anticipating this turning into a fucking Warpcast love fest, man. But I gotta say, I'm about to post the link to the podcast, man. And I'm gonna post it there first because it's a YouTube link, and fucking Twitter nerfs every outside link. And my meager following on Warpcast, when I post outside links there, they tend to do better. And so, and that's fucking dumb, honestly. But you know, here we are. I mean, it's dumb. It's not dumb about Warpcast. It's just fucking dumb that's such a struggle outside.
Yeah, I know. And again, it makes you think of things in a different way depending on the feed that you see it in. This is not so much to like praise Warpcast as a like kind of just a comparative study, basically. So like the other big non-crypto thing that took over all the feeds this week was the Studio Ghibli filter or whatever, the unlock within ChatGPT to let people giblify or gibify a lot of like personal pictures, memes, and everything like that. And it was wild to watch it happen across all the timelines. But when it happened, and like Dan Romero was probably like the biggest culprit of this, sharing like they looked really good. It was like a really fun event, like everyone sharing all the outputs. Again, there's a lot of counter arguments there, but let's focus on the positive real quick. Like, it looked really good in the feed. The outputs were great. Like, there's very few instances where it's like AI fucked up the cat's face. Like, for the most part, they all looked really, really crisp and clean. But when it was happening on the Purple app, I'm like, like, with all the crypto powered tools nearby, like what could we build that would work here? That, like, is there a business idea? TLDR. And it was really just like, you think about what's happening in a different context depending on like the different app and what tools are available. At least I do. I thought that was like an interesting observation, at the very least. But then seeing that sort of thing happen, I'm like, oh man, it made me, this is a crazy turn, but it made me think about Hallmark, like the Christmas card, like the Christmas channel, like that brand, and how they got their start at the end of the 19th century. Have you come across that story?
No.
by chance?
No, help me out.
So Hallmark got its start at the early part of the 1900s, like coinciding with this crazy boom in the speculative boom in the postcard souvenir market. So at the end of the 1800s, postcards came out, and the idea that you could put the like photorealistic images on these easily shareable, sendable pieces of like more robust paper and that you could send around the world, it blew people's minds. And at the very beginning of the postcard boom, people were collecting them because they're like, oh shit, this super scarce postcard over here, like very early edition. Like they were trading on like postcards, just like PFPs. It's a really similar phenomena. But towards the end of that speculative boom, like people actually, more than the speculative value, people are like, oh shit, like I can send something to friends and loved ones around the world. Like the utility was what caught a lot of people's attention. And you can only send so many postcards before it's like, all right, I did that, or I got postcards. I don't need to keep doing that. And Hallmark's twist, like where they really solidified their position, was by only creating like really high quality product in the form of Christmas cards focused on Christmas. And then just a few other like very particular times throughout the year, right? With the holidays and like birthdays and stuff. Like they cornered the market with that approach. Shortly after, they actually also invented Christmas wrapping paper as a concept that they held like a market stranglehold on. But the fact that they were able to take this again, like a speculative boom on postcards, which is like, what the hell does that even mean? But they're able, at the same time, if you zoom out, there is a really, really interesting kind of again, with sending around the world, the distribution, right? The ability to apply photography, which through the camera allow people all around the world to take these amazing images that you could then put onto things that you could send all over the place that were accessible. And, you know, a lot of the same things, just in a very different way, that's happening in crypto, where we have this technology that lets people send money super quickly, super cheaply. That you have different tech standards like NFTs, where you can publish things in a really novel way, right? For multiple purposes, with a lot of people in the world connected on the back end. There's a lot of really similar ingredients happening right around now. And it's like, oh shit, like seeing the Studio Ghibli like just phenomenon that took over the timelines, and all the like normie people, let alone crypto people, get into generating these images and have fun with it, more or less. I'm like, this this made me think about Hallmark and what happened around then, with all the new technical innovations that all happened to kind of coincide with one another. And I'm like, well, what's the hallmark of crypto going to be? Like, is that moment coming? Did it already come? Yeah, that's where my mind went, if any of that made sense.
No, it does, man. And I feel like it's sort of ties back into what I was saying with the frames. It's like a new way of being able to interact with people across the world in like really simple, personal ways. And I feel like that's sticky, man. It's, you know, and something, you know, as simple as like sending a postcard or whatever, like, you know, so I got, this is like sort of related. So like, so I'm playing that farm game, Farville or whatever, on the Yocast frame, right? And that checks a box for me. I like those that kind of shit. But I feel very self-conscious. You know, part of some of the tasks are like, you know, you got to ask people publicly for like seeds and like vegetables and shit. And I don't like that, man. I don't like publicly begging for anything, let alone virtual produce. So if anyone's out there like listening and wants to connect with me and, you know, run some sort of like back channel vegetable exchange, so I don't have to publicly grovel for stuff, that would be dope. But it's a minute example to sort of underscore your point, where like, you know, I can do that with fucking someone from across the world, man. And it's just a simple interaction with, you know, maybe someone I've been working with for like 5 years or something like that. And, you know, we don't talk much anymore, but we got a little radish exchange going. And I like that kind of shit, man. Right. And it's sort of like what we were talking about with the Yos. A lot of us are like, you know, connected and have been connected out here for a really long time. And to have like sort of bite-sized ways to interact with those people that, you know, they're only into if they like it in the first place. You know, I feel like it's sort of like the postcard example, but like more curated. You know, you get to sort of, you know, choose your little ways you want to interact with people across the world, kind of thing. And I don't know, man, it's kind of fun, and it feels it for the first time for me, man. I always like the social experiments out here. It is starting to feel like fresh and different, and especially the more people that are out there sort of iterating things on it. We've needed that, man.
Yeah, no, 100%. I had no idea that Farville was like that, but like it's cool when you're in that proximity, and it's cool to like, you sort of know someone, you see they're sort of like in the gang, you get some of those seeds, dude. Like that's a totally natural.
Works like that, but I would do that.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine it. I hope some people are engaging in it like that. I mean, I sort of did it with tickets in Farcade, like just throwing out like a little public like, shit, I ran out of tickets, and then Brookhawk has been my pusher, man, when it comes to arcade tickets. Like he's just been like tipping me those tickets like randomly. It's shout out Brookhawk for many reasons, but for pushing those tickets and feeding that Farcade addiction with me in particular. It's fun, man. It's really interesting. It's just like they're creating multiple reasons why you can stay connected, however frequently or infrequently, with all these internet friends that we're sort of making and accruing over the years. Lessons there for sure. All right, dude.
Good shit, man.
Solid episode.
Hell yeah. Yeah, dude, let's wrap it, and maybe we'll keep this cadence. And either way, I'll see you at the WIP next week. And good
yeah.
shit.
Sounds good.
All right,
Enjoy
man.
the weekend, dude.
Yep.
All right,
Likewise.
thank
Man.
you, Jaguanate's mom. Thank you, Jaguanate.
Oh yeah.
Let me make sure that we record this fun little episode. Okay, here we go. Save and save and save. All right. Later, y'all.
Good shit. There,
Good
man.
weekend. Peace.